Hello, my name is Sharon and welcome to Lifestyle with Sharon. Today I'm going to do a talk on anxiety. I will be talking about why we have anxiety and what happens to our body when we have that state of anxiety. I'm going to talk about why that is actually good at times to have anxiety. It serves a purpose. I'm going to explain why we have anxiety that's unnecessary. And I'm going to talk about what we can do about that and how we can change living in a constant state of anxiety if you have that long term, because it really isn't nice to have it long term. So I hope you find this video helpful. Just to let you know, I am a qualified psychotherapist and counsellor, and I do work in North Kerry area in Ireland on the border of Limerick. So if anyone wanted to come for face-to-face counselling, I am available. And if you wanted to have any online sessions, I'm available for that too. So let's go in to talk about anxiety. So when we think we're in danger, the body automatically reacts. So automatically our heart rate increases, our blood pressure goes up, and our breathing rate increases. And all this is to produce extra oxygen that goes to the muscles and the organs in the body so that you can react to that threat. So you can have more adrenaline and extra energy. That's really it in simple terms. So like if you needed to run from a situation, you will have the extra ability to do that. And if you needed to stay and fight in a situation, you have the extra energy to do that. And the organs and your muscles appreciate all this extra energy so that it is able to do what it needs to do. So you've heard maybe of the fight or flight response. So this is what's happening. You either fight or the flight, so you run. This is based on years and years and years ago in the caveman days. And if there was a threat of a tiger outside, automatically the body would respond to that danger. So they would automatically either fight that tiger or they would run from it to save their lives. And there is one step further, and that's the freeze. So they could freeze if the tiger got hold of them. So the body automatically freezes so that they can cope better with being eaten from this tiger. Sounds disgusting, but that's the way it was. But of course nowadays, thankfully, we don't have that tiger. But we do have threats of some sort. And the body doesn't identify what those threats are. So it doesn't identify that it's not a tiger or whatever danger might have been around years ago. So if we think there's a danger, the body will react in exactly the same way. So it's great in a situation where genuinely we're in danger or we think we might be in danger, our body automatically reacts and we can go and deal with that situation. But what is meant to happen is after the danger is gone, we're supposed to get those in reverse. The heart rate should go back to normal. The blood pressure should go back to normal. The breathing should go back to normal. But unfortunately, sometimes that bit is the bit that doesn't work properly. And that's when we have long-term anxiety. And that puts a lot of stress on the body. So the emotional symptoms that comes with long-term anxiety for some people can be they're embarrassed by it because people can see that they're, not in a good place. They're living off their nerves. You would have heard people say that. Sometimes it's very obvious when people have anxiety. Sometimes it's not, but sometimes it is. And they can feel embarrassed about it. They can feel stupid for having anxiety. They don't understand why they've got it all the time. They can have shame around having anxiety. They feel uneasy. They're never relaxed. They can feel useless because it's like, oh my God, I can't go in and do that, and because this might happen, and they're living in fear, and they can feel useless because they can't do what they would like to do because the anxiety, the symptoms of that anxiety is so debilitating. They can't concentrate. They can feel restless. They worry constantly. They can be tense, and as I said, they're living in fear. So they're the emotional symptoms of having long-term anxiety. So now I'm going to talk about the physical symptoms. So the physical symptoms is you can physically shake. So it could be your hands shaking, it could be your whole body, your legs can feel very shaky, and it's not a nice feeling. And then of course that's where the embarrassment can set in, because they think, oh my God, people can see me shaking. And it is difficult. You can feel very weak as well as a result of all this shakiness that's happening in your body. Because I know what I said earlier was that it's supposed to give you more energy, which it does, short term. But when you're long term in this anxiety state, it can make you feel very weak. You can feel that heart racing, and it's horrible. And some people panic that they might be having a heart attack. People do actually go to A&E and present with the thought that they are actually having a heart attack. And then of course they get physically checked out, have an ECG, and then it turns out they're not having a heart attack, they're actually having a panic attack and have anxiety. You can be very sweaty, you can't sleep, or if you do sleep, you wake up regularly. You never feel like you've had a good night's sleep, so you feel exhausted. You can have the rapid breathing. Also, the rapid breathing can make you feel quite dizzy and lightheaded, and you can have chest pain. It can be quite excruciating. That pain can be quite profound for some people. So if you have a lot of anxiety and you're having that long term, that really can be quite awful to live with. And there is a lot of negative health effects of having long-term anxiety. And remember when I said earlier about the blood pressure going up? Well, if you're in that state of fight or flight all the time and your blood pressure is constantly working too hard, that is going to have implications, because you're going to have high blood pressure. So there's lots of things that can help with that. Some of the things that you can do to help is meditation, practice mindfulness. Mm-hmm. And this is not going to be easy, because if you're in a state of anxiety and you're on edge and you're waiting for something to happen, you're not going to relax. So of course when you try meditation, it's like you're not going to like it. You're not going to be able to sit there and be with yourself, because you're waiting for something to happen. Your body is anyway. So it's going to be uncomfortable. You're not going to want to sit there and be still. And that's okay. At the beginning, don't have any expectations of being able to sit there still, because you probably won't be able to. Just take it one step at a time and do maybe something small, like just sit there for 30 seconds and just practice breathing, deep breaths in and out, and just paying attention to your breath. Start there, then progress on to a minute, and then maybe listen to some guided meditations, and just be aware of your thoughts. If your thoughts are going somewhere else when you're not listening to meditation, that's okay. But over time and a bit of practice, your mind will slow down, because it will get subconscious messages from the guided meditations, and eventually you will slow the heart rate down. You will slow the breathing down. It really does work. I would also recommend pushing through the anxiety. So when you're fearful of something, say if you wanted to go to a dance class, for instance, but you're too scared to go because you worry about what other people might think, just go and do it. And then your body gets the message, actually, this is not a dangerous situation. This is actually okay. I had fun here dancing. You know? So the more you do something that's out of your comfort zone, that will help your anxiety. Doing something nice for yourself, a bit of self-care, doing something that has a bit of enjoyment for you. Going swimming, go walking, going dancing, as I said, go and meet with some friends. Even if you have anxiety about meeting your friends, just go and do it. And start going out there and having connections and doing the opposite of what you've been doing. You might be isolating yourself all the time. You don't need to do that. And definitely I would recommend speaking to a therapist, because they can get to the root of why you're having this long-term anxiety, why your body is not retracting and slowing the breath down, this is called the parasympathetic response. So when you're going in fight or flight mode, you go into sympathetic response, that's called. You don't have to remember the technology, but you are going into that fight or flight mode. And then when your danger's gone, you're supposed to come out of it and you're supposed to go into parasympathetic response. But that doesn't always work because of maybe childhood trauma, or you might have experienced trauma as an adult. And trauma could be anything. What could be traumatic for somebody might not be for somebody else. So we're all different human beings. And if something is affecting you and you know it in your body, go to a counsellor or a psychotherapist and get some help around why that is happening. And they can give you techniques and work through you changing to be able to reduce that anxiety and have a better quality of life. So I hope you enjoy this talk. If you do decide that you'd like to come and see me for any sessions, by all means, do contact me. You can see my contact details on my website, and you can read blogs on anxiety and other mental health issues on my blogs. So the website is www.sharontalktherapy.com. So thank you for watching.